Welcome to the Positively Healthy Mom podcast, where positive parenting meets well-being. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of the Positively Healthy Mom. I'm your host, Laura Ollinger, teen and parent well-being coach. And today, I can't wait to introduce you to my good friend, Karen Jansen, who is so funny, just happens to be right down the street in my neighborhood. So it's funny that we're coming to each other virtually, but we are super close. And I've known Karen forever. So Karen, say hello. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Laura. I'm looking forward to our chat.
I know. So Karen is a doTERRA wellness advocate. And I love it because you first introduced me to this brand doTERRA. Man, I think it's been about 4 or 5 years since we first had coffee to talk about it. It's like my sense of time is a blur, but I loved how you introduced me to this brand. And I'm just gonna, we're not doing a commercial for the brand right now, but I am just gonna say I'm excited. I kind of got involved. This is where I get all my supplements. I get oils. This is where I buy my products because I just feel really comfortable with the company. So, but we decided today we're going to talk about, because this is something I see a lot of in my business, and I know people also go to you for help with teenage anxiety or feelings of anxiety, feelings of anxiousness. What I get the most is kind of typically described as social anxiety, where I help parents and I help teens like build that confidence and build that skill to face social challenges and put themselves in not necessarily comfortable situations. Like a lot of times they're like, oh, I got invited to this social situation, or there's a school dance, and it feels like a risk. But it's what I usually typically describe as a healthy risk. Like we don't want our kids to stay at home because they're afraid, right? We want them to go out. We want them to experience things. And a lot of times it's like a teenage mind thinks it has to be perfect, and they're so used to feeling like everybody's watching them, and so they just build up a lot of these like negative thoughts in their minds. But there is, or I should say, and there is so much more that goes into feelings of anxiety. And so I'm really excited today. We're going to talk about what you call the wellness pyramid. Do I have that right?
Yep, the Wellness Lifestyle Pyramid.
Wellness lifestyle pyramid, which I also kind of advocate for in my coaching business, because as we'll get into, all these things work together. And so I love that doTERRA has its own formula for this. So why don't you kind of start us off and tell us about it?
Yeah. Thank you, Laura. So, yes, this Wellness Lifestyle Pyramid was such an aha when I saw it for the first time. It is so simple, but it really organizes in a really clear to understand way the lifestyle changes that we can make and that we have power, to make that can really impact us in all sorts of ways. So physically, mentally, emotionally, all ways in it, but it gives us kind of an organizing framework to
Mm-hmm.
make sense of all of those things that we know we should be doing to be at our best. But it's kind of overwhelming sometimes because there are all the things, right? It's like eat right, sleep, do this, do that, take this, take that. And
Yeah.
especially for our children, you know, they, I think it's very helpful if they have some sort of way to look at things to kind of filter through information and apply it to themselves. That's simple and clear. And it's kind of something that they can take with them, even when they leave the nest, and something they can use for themselves for the rest of their lives. And it's very simple, and I'll walk us through it really quickly. But
Okay.
it's something that I had a long health journey myself
Mm-hmm.
and spent years and years kind of fixing myself. And I don't say that lightly, is because I had an issue that my doctors couldn't figure out. And it was about 14 years that I was on this journey, and about 17 years total that I was pretty sick. And if I had had this organizing framework, it would have saved me a lot of time and also helped me to really make sense of all of the health information that I had been reading in the functional medicine
Mm.
space, yeah, in the Eastern medicine space, in the energy healing space, all the kind of alternative modalities that I was turning to because regular medicine couldn't help. And along that way, what I realized was a lot of people, no matter what we're dealing with, a lot of times the root cause of our health challenges, whether it's feelings of anxiety, whether it's physical, pain, whether it's lack of energy, a lot of times they have very similar root causes.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times They are root causes that we have power to change. So it's very empowering at the same time.
Right. And I love that. I love the idea of just having something that's organized, something that's visual, which I know you're going to walk us through. We're not going to put it up on the screen, but we're going to describe it because it's so simple. And just the idea that we can take control of our own health and that we're not like at the mercy of getting to a doctor, or we're not. I mean, I'm not against, I'm not saying don't go to your doctor. I'm 100% saying go to your doctor, but we don't have to wait for an appointment if we can't get into their office for 6 weeks or whatever that might be, because there are so many things that we have control over, we can start doing today. And so that's what I think is really cool about this. So why don't you, what's the first level?
Yeah. The first level is nutrition and digestion. And so that's a
Mhm.
foundation. And I'll say really quickly on that doctor point, I think doctors love when we take more empowered approaches to our own health, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if all of their patients could take responsibility for their health um, to a greater extent, probably, then what they recommend would work better. And then they probably don't even have to write as many prescriptions. They wouldn't have to write as many prescriptions and so forth. But nutrition and digestion is the basis. And so if you think
Mhm.
about like a pyramid, right? It's a lifestyle pyramid. I'll just run through them really quickly. Nutrition and digestion is the bottom. And then
Mhm.
there's movement and metabolism, which is the next
Mhm.
level. Then there's resting and managing stress. And the top one is reducing toxicity. So the
Mm.
whole concept of it being this shape as like a pyramid is the
Mhm.
bottom is foundational. And we won't talk too much about nutrition and digestion,
Mhm.
but when we're talking about our kids, our teens, our tweens, whatever age it might be, who are struggling with like the social anxiety, these feelings of anxious, these anxious feelings that are
Mhm.
beyond what we know to be needed, right? Um, um, Oftentimes there's a root in the gut. And so, and in our society, we take a lot of antibiotics. We take more antibiotics. We take more, and they that can really disrupt our microbiome. And I really feel like
Mhm.
that's a huge part of why there are a lot of kids right now struggling with these feelings of these anxious feelings.
Mhm.
And I have two children myself, and one I gave a lot of antibiotics to when she was young, and the other one I never did. He's been raised totally differently. And I could see very clear differences. Of course, they have different personalities, but I can see in their immune health, in their moods, in their just resilience overall. They're to the extent that we can keep that gut microbiome healthy, the better
Mhm.
off they are in all sorts of ways. And so the relevance here for those feelings of anxiousness is the gut brain connection, which is now very well understood, very well studied. Um, doTERRA, this company that I represent, I'm a fan of all sorts of botanicals. I spent in my long health journey, I dabbed in many different brands because I never found a brand that had kind of all the tools in one. doTERRA
Mhm.
was the closest. And when you work in the when you're in the natural health world, it's very unregulated. So you've got to really be
Mm.
careful. What's on the label actually does not mean much, believe it or not, especially when it comes to the product that doTERRA is most well known for, which is essential oils. A
Mhm.
company really doesn't have to have that much of the actual pure essential oil in it in order to be able to say on their label they're 100% pure and natural, which is hard to believe, but it's definitely the case. And so, with this bottom level of nutrition and digestion, it's not only like are our kids eating, enough vegetables? Are they eating, the right macros, proteins, carbs to fats? But it's really the micronutrient, like the nutrient density of the foods and the
Mm.
micronutrient gaps. It's amazing when you start learning about the different micronutrients that kind of our bodies need in order to function optimally. If we are
Mhm.
low in one or two, that's all it takes to really shift the entire
Mhm.
history of our body. And our bodies are always like aiming for homeostasis. Our bodies
Right.
know what to do, they know how to heal. But if we're deficient in one area, it's really hard to reach that homeostasis, and it can manifest in these mood situations where we're
Mhm.
overreacting, where it can result in hormonal imbalances, which we know for our teens and tweens they're dealing with already, all that hormone those hormone changes, which
Yes.
can lead to these feelings of anxiousness. So nutrition and digestion is the bottom rung, and it's not only like that microbiome, but it's also what are we absorbing And so I
Mm.
talked to a lot of people about digestive enzymes. I actually have integrative doctor for one of my children, and one of the first things she recommended for one of my children was digestive enzymes, 2 per meal. Like that's a lot, because there was clear indication that she just wasn't absorbing everything that was needed.
Mm. Mhm.
And enzymes actually help in all sorts of ways. So that's a simple one. When people have a rash on their arms,
Mhm.
enzymes actually can be very beneficial, because the skin is a detox organ. So
Mm.
super interesting. So on the nutrition and digestion level, that's the foundation. What this graphic is basically, what this pyramid is basically saying is if that level isn't optimal, focus there first. The next
Yeah.
one is movement and metabolism, and we all know exercise can change our state of mind so much, right?
Mhm. Totally.
And so I think it was proven. I don't have the stats or the study with me, but I think there's been a lot of research to show that exercise is as effective as antidepressants. So
Yes, I've read that as well. Yes. Mhm.
so and all of these things, I would say, this being empowered versus just going to get a prescription for like an anti-anxiety medicine or antidepressant, it takes work, right? And
Yeah.
so it's because it's up to us. We have to make it happen. So
Mhm.
exercise is not always easy. That's
Right.
actually one of the ones that I fall back on. I prioritize other things, but
Mhm.
we sure feel better when we prioritize it, right? When we get it done.
Yes.
So the next level is resting and managing stress. And so
Mhm.
the notion here is if you've got your nutrition and digestion pretty well dialed in, and we know teens struggle in that area. So
Of
we can
course.
only do so much. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, but if we're doing the best we can there, and then we're moving and we're exercising to some extent, that
Mhm.
will make our efforts for rest and managing stress more effective. So resting,
Mm.
um, I know somebody once mentioned, like, are you sleeping enough? Because life is never good if you're overtired. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, that's true. Nothing feels like it's going right when we're tired. And
Yeah.
so for our teens and tweens, simple things like, making sure that there's not too much blue light going into their visual space right before
Mhm.
bed, that really
Yeah.
decreases melatonin production. That's an easy one and a hard one, obviously. Um,
Mhm.
really making sure that the screen time during the day, and that's a challenge right now because our kids are all on computers at school, but blue light blocking glasses is such an easy thing. I know my teen really, but it really helped to prevent that blue light from impacting melatonin. Um, and then on the resting and managing stress side, in the botanical world, there are so many very, very powerful herbs, essential oils, that really help us to have more restorative sleep. Even
Mm.
if our teens are sleeping enough, right? They could sleep for eons, it seems sometimes. If it's not a really restorative sleep, it's not going to have as much of an impact. And think about how irritable we feel and how on edge we feel when we miss a few nights of sleep.
Mhm.
So that's really one that's really key for helping manage those feelings of anxiousness.
Yes, I love that you brought that up because what I learned from the book that actually you were the first person that introduced it to me is Why We Sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. I mean, that thing is a masterpiece. I love it so much. And what I learned from that is that not all sleep is created equal. So we think that sleep is sleep and that what else is there to it, but that there's so many different variations on quality of sleep. And so I think that that is so important in both as moms, the things that we're lacking out are usually quantity, but it's also quality. Trying to get those words right, quality, and that's important for our teenagers as well to make sure they're getting quality sleep. And if we're stressed or if we're not eating right or all those other things, then we're not going to get that restorative sleep that you're referring to.
Yes, totally, totally. Yes, and for talking about moms, so I wear this Aura ring, and I wear it because sleep and exercise are my two weaknesses. Sleep, not that I don't sleep well, but I just like to get a lot of things done, and if I haven't gotten them done over the day, course of the day, because of all the distractions as a mom, being pulled here and there, I will push back the time I go to bed till too late. So this helps me. It's kind of like my accountability partner almost. But what's really interesting is I don't drink anymore. I did, but when I was sick for all those years, alcohol just made everything worse.
Mhm.
But when I do, like every now and then, if I do go out and with dinner, if I have a drink, my REM is awful. It's the most
Oh,
interesting thing. I can see it when I wake up in the morning and I sync my ring to my phone.
yeah.
And that actually is an example of something that I'm trying to teach my kids now. They are
Mm.
too young, I think, to be partaking in any alcohol, I hope,
Yeah,
but
hopefully.
what I'm aware of. But for me, when we know what things do to our bodies, it's easier
Mhm.
to make the right choice, I think.
Right.
I actually have an acupuncturist who I've had several over the years, and one who actually is here in Bee Cave, but she once said that she had a child who was in college and he had no interest in alcohol because he understood what it did to you physically and mentally.
Wow.
And I thought that was really interesting. He that actually she was also the first person I knew who had raised a child with no antibiotics, and he was in college by the time I met her, and that opened up a whole like world for me. Um, and so this notion of resting and managing stress and being so important. Of course, though, we have stressful times, we have stressful moments. I had one today. I was running late and I was thinking, geez, I'm 46 years old and I still have trouble managing my time.
Yeah.
But we can teach the kids, right? Prepare the
Right.
night before, be fully prepared,
Mhm.
study for a test 2 weeks in, I don't know, whatever it is, 2 weeks in advance, if that's possible.
Yeah.
So you're not reaching up against like a deadline and feeling that stress. But for when we need some help, um, I like to share a quick story of a family member of mine who had really really negative side effects from an
Mm.
anti-anxiety medication, like debilitating. Like his life is nothing of what it could have been. So I always try to teach people, if you a pill is easier. However, really like try like mindfulness, try all the techniques that you're teaching the world, Laura, so important. And then if you need extra help or you need some sort of tool to help you kind of focus or kind of shift your mind, essential oils are amazing. And
Mhm.
I started using oils mostly for immunity because when I was sick, my immune system was very compromised. And they did wonders. Like oregano for me, I had two sinus surgeries, and oregano is better for sinus issues than anything I've ever done.
Mm.
Um, but there is a blend in particular that doTERRA has. It's called Adaptive.
Yes, I have mine right here.
Oh, good, good, good. It's great. And so I'll just give a quick example of how I use it. If I'm
Okay.
trying,
Here, I'm gonna do it with you because I know I like it when you give the lesson.
okay, good, good, good. So you can put one drop in your hand, in the palm of
Mhm.
your hand, and rub your hands together, and then
Okay.
cup them over your nose and your mouth, and take long, slow, deep breaths in and out, and just keep it cupped. So you're really just inhaling the oil. It might be a little
Mhm.
strong if you have too many drops. But what that's doing, there are oils in that blend that are known to uplift and oils that are known to ground. And so the oils actually work. They trigger the olfactory nerve, which is located
Mhm.
just about here in your face, and they're linked to the limbic system. The limbic system manages memory, mood, emotion. It also directs the endocrine system.
Mm.
So if this seems kind of far fetched, because it did to me at first, think
Mhm.
about when we go into general anesthesia and a surgery, how
Mhm.
what we are inhaling, it's a synthetic, sedative. It
Mhm.
literally makes us fall asleep, right? So what we inhale can be
Oh,
very, very powerful. Also, what
yeah.
we inhale, as we know, like a smoker, that it goes into your lung, goes into your bloodstreams, right? Those toxins
Mm.
bloodstreams. So that's another way. The oils, actually, the naturally occurring chemical constituents are getting into your bloodstream from your lungs that way. So it's super
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
And I
very,
love it when you describe that because, like, I feel like I'm not capable of describing all that, but I love it when you do because, it makes so much sense, right? And I never even thought of the anesthesia example until just now when you shared that. But I've heard you share those other ones before, and it's like, oh, yeah. And if only we had smell-o-vision because we need
I
people to be able to
know,
smell
I know.
this
Smell it.
amazing smell, the
Exactly.
adaptive blend. Yes, it's awesome. So, yeah. So tell us a little more about like how that's working.
I tell people don't expect, for me at least, it does not shift me into this like numb, almost like, sedated state.
Hmm.
Like I know some more powerful like pharmaceuticals can. Don't
Hmm.
expect that. However, it helps us to shift the way we
Mm,
perceive our stressors. It helps
mm,
us to calm. So the
mhm,
oils also work with the vagus nerve. They can trigger the parasympathetic, so the rest and digest part of our nervous system, which oftentimes, if we're living life like a tween or a teen, like, there's a lot, sports, school, they're constantly in this go, go, go mode. It's quite difficult sometimes for the nervous system to shift over to that rest and
mhm.
digest, those feelings of
Yeah.
calm. So these oils can actually really help in that way. It can be as simple as putting a few drops in a diffuser throughout the day.
Mm,
You might have to do
mhm,
it for your teen or tween, but particularly at night, we diffuse wild orange in the morning because wild orange uplifts mood. You can
mhm,
also apply the third, there's three ways to use the oils aromatically,
mhm,
also, which is the smell. Also, put them on your skin.
mhm,
They absorb into the bloodstream. Sounds strange, but the chemical
mhm,
constituents are actually detectable in the bloodstream.
mm,
They help with red blood cell movement. It's proven. And then the third way is internally. And so internally, I only recommend for doTERRAs because they're that pure, they're medical grade.
right.
But and actually, we can move to the next level. I think we're close on time. Moving to the next level, which is reducing toxicity. So it's nutrition and digestion, then it's movement and metabolism, then it's resting and managing stress. And then if all of that is not kind of doing the trick,
Mhm,
along with the mindset, all of the lifestyle factors that you teach and the mental
mhm,
models that you help our children to learn. If that's not working, really look at toxicity. So I won't spend much time here at all, but our cleaning products, our beauty products, our food,
mhm,
there are dyes and, like everything, it seems like these days, there are phthalates, there are all these endocrine disruptors in our
mhm,
products which impact hormone health, right? It's proven. And so what I really like about this company that I've aligned myself with is they have all these products that are essential oil based that work very, very well without chemicals. So it's just
mm,
so talking about teens and tweens, um, my daughter's bathroom completely transformed a few years ago into like Drunk Elephant and all these brands of things, and I didn't know
yeah,
what was in them.
right.
And sure enough, she started having respiratory issues. She started having some more mood changes, which is partly just the age, of course. But I helped her to understand what they can be doing and slowly we
Mm,
back into cleaner products. And I can tell a difference. And she feels it enough that she knows. And so she knows what to look at and she knows it's worth kind of monitoring. And like I said, the reducing toxicity part is huge. And
yeah.
actually, this is just one sentence about my health journey. It turns out 15 years of struggles that I had was actually because of toxic burden in my body that was too high, which
Mm,
nobody looked at. And so that was a good learning for me. We are bombarded with toxins. I mean,
mhm,
candles, as sad as it sounds, because we love candles, hairspray, our beauty products, what we mop our floor with, what we wash our dishes with, what we wash our laundry with, they over time the body can only handle so much. And so what I love is that you can actually use like essential oils in these products to simplify that transition to a more
mm,
pure and healthy home, and the impacts can be far reaching,
mm.
including how our moods are and how we respond to stress.
Wow, that's so cool. I love it. I love how you describe it and, you know, I think that there's such a it's almost Pandora's box when it comes to all the chemicals because it's in everything. But if you had to start one place to make it simple for moms, where would it be with the toxins?
um I think, okay, if it had to be a beauty wise personal, because
Or anything, anywhere in your life. Yep.
beauty wise, I would say lotion, like because if they're putting it on their legs, if they're,
Oh,
face lotion, because our
yeah.
skin is absorbing everything that we put on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
A lot of our lotions, like a Lubriderm, like the things, they're full of chemicals. So that would be there. And if
Mm,
it's for the home, I would say what you Definitely the air freshers, like sad
Oh
as it is,
yeah,
instead of like Febreze or the candles.
yeah.
Um, I
Or like
know.
the Glade plugins, like they disgust me now. Like I used to before I knew, we used to use those, but yeah, now I'm like, no, that's nasty.
I know a woman whose daughter had really bad asthma to the point that she would be in the ER several times a year.
Oh
The
wow.
mom was putting talcum powder, so baby powder, in the sheets to make the bed smell fresh when she would make the bed.
Oh yeah.
That was what it was.
And
Years
there's
of
aluminum. Yeah, isn't it aluminum in the? Yeah, yeah.
and so you never know. Like actually for me, what was harming me all those years, and I suffered so much, was a medical device that I had chosen. It was I'll just it was breast implants that I had chosen. They affected me. They don't affect everybody, but it was my point is oftentimes a driver or a root cause of our struggles is something that we're unknowingly doing. And so it's
Mm,
worth kind of taking the ego out of the situation and just being
yeah.
totally objective about it and saying, what could I have in my home, or what could I be doing, or feeding my children, or allowing them to, be exposed to, that could be harming their physical and their mental health.
Mm, okay. Well, this was an amazing like power lesson today on just overall wellness and, specifically feelings of anxiety. So, Karen, how can people find you going forward if they want more information about doTERRA or you or anything?
Thank you. Well, my website is Inspire Naturally, and that's because I have a team of moms basically who are trying to help the world heal in a very natural way. And so we like to inspire others to try nature first. Um,
Hmm.
and then doTERRA, if you are, doTERRA is a really big company. If you're already a doTERRA customer, doTERRA.com is where all of the products are. But yeah,
Mm,
definitely check my website. I would love that. InspireNaturally.com. And I just think the more we learn, the more we can pass on to our children and benefit them for their entire lives. Because once you know how to help yourself, you can always help yourself.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's the perfect wise words to
thank you.
sign us off on. So, Karen, thank you so much. It was so good to see you, and it was an
Laura,
amazing chat as always.
thank you so much.